History Project, and we're visiting today in the heart of downtown scale, as Shelby McCallum used to say, in the home of James Walton Culp. Mr. Culp, it's nice to be with you.
Well, I'm glad to be here with you, too. And
I understand that your family included some of the Wyatts.
that's right. Yeah, my great-great-grandfather, McGillberry White, come here from
Williamston, North Carolina.
Yeah, that's born in Williamston, North Carolina.
Which was Martin County in April of 1796. Oh, now that really goes back before the turn of the 19th century. So that's...
Well, let's see, I've got it here, was that...
20 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and of course, which was 76, and 13 years after the end of the Revolution, and George Washington was president. That's true. He was elected in 1788 and took office in April of 1789, and the first Congress met that year. And then, of course, he ran for re-election in the fall, November of 1796. So Washington hadn't made his second race. That really takes us back to the very beginnings of this nation.
Just absolutely, almost.
I notice you have, I'll read a few other things that you have here. He was of British descent. He and his sister, whose name is not recalled, were bound out as indentured servants at an early age, and he was a good carpenter and cabinet maker, and probably his master was too, and he taught him his trade. But the master being mean to him, he and his sister ran away and joined a wagon train going west, and they arrived at Hopkinsville, Kentucky. She decided to stay there, but he came on west and settled in Marshall County, which was then, of course, part of Christian.
Now, I have that wrong there. Later, I found out that he settled down around Bethel Church. He got 160 acres down around Bethel Church homestead. Of course, back in then, they called them land patents.
I see.
Okay.
And so that they gave them the land or sold it at a very, very low price.
Well, Otis White told me that he got it for free by homesteading, I guess. That's that country down in there used to be known as Freedom's Corner, and that's where they got that because that land was free down there. Now that's around Bethel Church. That's about 4 miles east of Tatumsville, in case a lot of people don't know where Bethel Church is.
Well, I imagine several of them will not know. And he got about 1,500 acres altogether.
He owned that up around the forks of the road up here was 68 and not Moore's Camp Road, Old Birmingham Road. Yeah, they call it the Big Bear Road now, I think.
Yeah, it's
and he at one time owned the land where Marshall County High School is now, so I've been told.
And I see that you say he fought in the War of 1812. That was an interesting war because the people in the West, which meant Kentucky then, actually Kentucky became a state in 1792, the first state west of the mountains, and Tennessee in 1796. So your ancestor here was born really before Tennessee entered the Union on June the 1st of that year. And of course, Kentucky's first governor was Isaac Shelby, who had been a hero in the Revolution, fighting at the Battle of Kings Mountain over in South Carolina. Now he came back into service and headed the troops in the War of 1812, and also became the first governor to serve 2 terms, though they were not next to one another. He was in 1792 and then came back several years later. Now, for that, he was given 160 acres of land in near Macomb, Illinois.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now that was the Northwest Territory, and of course Illinois was not then a state, so people were given free land, the Revolutionary soldiers
Mm-hmm.
and that. Interesting to me because my daughter taught at Macomb, Illinois, at Western Illinois University there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
In later years, he made a trip to Macomb, saw his land, found what he had claimed, and got legal counsel and reclaimed the land, which then sold for $440. Today it's worth about $3,000 an acre. You should have inherited that.
Yes, I should have. That'd have been nice, wouldn't it?
He went back to look for his sister some years later in Hopkinsville and was not able to find her.
Mm-hmm.
And he married Lucretia Dunn, February 20th, 1816, and 11 children were born. He died just before the war between the states in January of 1858.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's quite an interesting story. What about your mother and father?
My mother was Blanche Walton, and then she married my father, who was Amos Culp.
Mm-hmm.
He died in 1910. I was 7 months old.
Mm-hmm. So you don't remember your father?
Oh, no, I don't remember him. And she then later, in 1918, married John McWaters, and we moved down here on the Scale Road. But prior to that, we went to White Oak School.
White Oak?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's about a mile and a half, I would say, wouldn't you, Leona? About a mile and a half out the Moores Camp Road, which is 963. Some people know it 963, some call it Moores Camp Road.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1918, when my mother married John McWaters, there was 5 of us children, and we moved away and the schoolhouse disbanded. That was the last year of the school.
You took away so many students.
Yeah, that's right.
Not many people can say that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, that's good. Do you remember any of your grandparents?
Oh, yeah, I remember my grandfather Culp and grandmother Culp. My grandfather Walton, which was on my mother's side, he got killed in 1912. I think I was 3 years old when he got killed. And my mother's mother, I don't remember her. She died when my mother was 13 years old. But my grandfather remarried after that, and I knew his second wife.
Mm-hmm. So you went to White Oak School. Do you remember any of the teachers?
Oh, yeah. Now, I forgot my first teacher. I think I was only 5 years old when we started. See, we used to start school in July in these country schools, and it was out the last week in December, last day of December. But in 1916 was Dewey Colley, 1917 was Dora Dyke, and 1918, the last day of school there, was Frank Beasley. Mm-hmm. And, well, I guess one reason, too, why the school disbanded was Mr. Beasley joined the Army. See,
World War One.
World War One, and then he was the last teacher at White Oak Schoolhouse. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember. I can't recall who my first teacher was.
Well, you talk about starting school in July. They were still doing that when I started school.
Yeah.
I started school in the fall of 1927, and we still started the 1st of July. And I think they'd added a month to the term because I believe we went till February the 1st or some such.
Yeah, I really thought I was betrayed when they extended that school another month. Before I got out of grade school, they had extended it to 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Many of the farm states did that, and I can recall in West Tennessee and southeast Missouri and so on in the Cotton Belt,
Mm-hmm.
they started real early, and then they did that up until the 1960s,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd take off for cotton picking.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to stay out of school to worm tobacco?
Yeah. Well, I don't recall having to stay out of school, but we had sucker tobacco and worm tobacco after it got out of, got home from school day.
Mm-hmm.
And then gathering corn. We had to stay out of school some when we were gathering corn because we had to pick it by hand then. We didn't have these pickers that they've got now.
No.
So we picked corn by hand. And
Well, that pretty much came after World War II, the development of the modern corn pickers and so on.
Yeah. Well, they've got such few farmers now. They've got to have these machineries to get the crops in now.
Well, you couldn't make enough to live the way we would like to live today.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
No.
back then, I imagine you grew about all you ate.
Yes, yeah. Practically everything we ate. Wheat for flour, corn for a meal, hogs, we killed hogs.
What is the thing you liked most about growing up on the farm? Killing hogs, maybe?
I guess maybe that was it. We had fresh meat then.
Yeah.
But now, outside of that, I like to think of it like an uncle of mine told me all he could remember working on a farm was a lot of hard work and no pay.
Yeah. And yet we look back on it with a lot of pleasure.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We had good, clean fun. And we didn't know anything about marijuana. We didn't know anything about cocaine and these speed pills
Mm-hmm.
and anything like that. We didn't.
Now, people used to swap work quite a bit.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
were some of the tasks that you traded with your neighbors and helped one another?
Cutting tobacco, mostly, for us, because we had enough of us kids around. Some, where there was just maybe one man in the family, well, they'd swap work cutting wood.
Mm-hmm.
But we always had enough around to cut wood. But we did swap work cutting tobacco, and that's about the only thing I can remember about swapping work around.
Did you ever make any sorghum molasses?
Oh Lord, yes, right down the road here, about 1,000 feet or so, was a good sorghum mill. Uncle Alfred Johnson used to make molasses down there, and man, could he make good molasses.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I made a lot of molasses. Skim them.
Yeah.
I'd skim them.
There was always some mill in the neighborhood, and everybody else would take their cane there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've heard of raising cane.
Stripping it too.
Yeah.
Get out.
Do you remember how that burned your neck? There was some kind of a fuzz or something that came off those blades.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me it just eats you alive.
Yeah.
Did you ever step in the skimming hole?
I can't recall that I ever did.
Well, I did one time.
I can't remember ever stepping.
Oh, that was a mess.
Oh, yeah, you bet it was. Yeah.
But I can remember how terrible the yellow jackets would be.
Yeah.
You know, when they smelled that syrup, boy, did they come buzzing around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You'd always get stung a few times from wasps, bees, yellow jackets, so on. Hornets, I guess. Well, did you ever play many games around school?
Oh yeah, we played one-eyed cat, two-eyed cat batter. We played.
Do you remember anything about how that went?
Well, it was a little bit. We had to run. We had to hit the ball far enough that you could run down to a base and then back before we get put out. See. Now I don't remember now too much about how they put you out. What, excuse me, whether they cross you out with the ball on that two-eyed cat or not. But I do remember a whole lot about playing 1, 2, 3 batter at school. Mm-hmm. Now, when we get to school in the morning, if we had time before they take up, well, somebody'd holler 1, 2, 3 batter, and we'd holler batter, and catcher, and first baseman, pitcher, and around like that. And then in the batting, if you hit the ball far enough, now it didn't cross you out on that either. Mm-hmm. Hit the ball, why, if somebody caught that on the fly, then they got to be the batter. But if they put you out by throwing the ball to first base, then they'd advance. Catcher would go to batter, pitcher to catcher, first baseman to pitcher, and around like that.
Oh, and then eventually everybody got a chance.
And
everybody wanted to be the batter.
Oh yeah. That was my favorite position to play when I was playing ball, mm-hmm. Batter. Yeah. And it seemed like too that if you caught the ball on the first bounce, mm-hmm. You got to come to advance. The batter was out, and then the man that caught the ball was got to be the batter then. And if you hit a foul up in the air, it had to go 10 feet up in the air, and the man that caught that was the next batter. Mm-hmm.
Well, did you have any schoolgirl sweethearts?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. A lot of them. Yeah, I'd wink at them. Yeah. They'd make a face back at me.
Yeah. Pass notes.
Maybe. Yeah, but didn't pass many votes because teacher catch you, and she might read them notes out in front to the class.
And that embarrassed them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell us about meeting your wife.
Well, she's from Coffeyville, Kansas. And I went out there in 1935, and I worked out there 3 years, and then I come back here. I got laid off where I was working. I come back here and back in another year, and then she and I got married.
Mm-hmm. Well, this explains then how she came to be from Kansas.
Yes, yeah.
You didn't sing that song to her, I was born in Kansas, I was bred in Kansas, and when I get married, I'll be wed in Kansas.
No, I never sing that song because...
that was a popular hit when I was young.
Yeah? I don't know if I ever heard it. So. Mm-hmm.
To a true blue gal who promised she would wait, she's my little sunflower from the sunflower state.
Sunflower state.
Yeah. Do you have any children?
I have one daughter. Mm-hmm.
Now, where does she live?
She lives in Iuka, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about grandchildren?
Got three. One lives in Iuka, Mississippi, and one lives in Dixon, Kentucky, and one lives in Poole. They're both close together in Webster County.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, you say you came back after staying out there a few years. Then what did you do after that? Did you?
Well, I worked there on the farm for my stepfather, and then I went back out there in 1939. And of course, it was almost sure the United States started building up their Air Force, and I went out to Wichita, Kansas, and went to work for Stearman Aircraft. Mm-hmm. It was Stearman then, but it turned out later on Boeing bought them out, Boeing Aircraft, and worked for them for several years. And then I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1942, or we did, and I worked for Douglas Aircraft in Tulsa for 3 years, and that was the end of the war.
Yes, sir. And came back to Marshall County then?
No. Let's see. I think. Let me see now. About a year there that work was pretty slack after the war. Then I think we went back to Wichita, Kansas, and I was there for quite some time. Back with Beech aircraft and Boeing
Mm-hmm.
aircraft. I've worked, in Kansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Alabama. Later years, I went to work for TVA in 1956, I believe it was, and I stayed there till I retired in '69, last day of '69.
Then you came back to Paradise.
No.
No, you didn't. Well, okay.
No, we went back out to Kansas and lived there about 6 years, I guess, wasn't it, hon? 8 years in Kansas, and then we went down to move to Grove, Oklahoma from there, and then to Neosho, Missouri, and then back to Kentucky, to Paradise, as you say. Yeah.
Well, tell us what you remember about the city of Scale. Was it ever any bigger than it is now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they used to be a store right across the road here from us. They was a store there, and they had a grist mill, and then there was a little dinky store, I think, across the street from the road there. And there was a few more houses here, I think, than they are now.
Well, for
Right
those,
here in the,
for those days, it was sort of a main crossroads between Benton. It was a main road between Benton and Paducah.
Oh yeah. This road, this Spouse Sled Road now was the main road from Benton to Paducah, back before they built this, which is 641 now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you remember the old covered bridge?
Oh yeah.
Going
That
to Benton?
that they didn't do away with that road. When they built this road, which is I believe it was in the early 30s when they built this.
Highway from Paducah to Murray and Hazel.
Yes, yeah,
and so
that's
on?
which is 641 now.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I think they started that in 29 and then
Yeah.
finished it up in 30.
I think
and
you're right. Yeah.
Paved it in 33, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hear my dad talk about going that old road and taking a load of tobacco to Paducah, and it was muddy till you got sharp, and there was gravel.
Yeah.
He said they thought they'd hit Paradise when they got sharp.
To the county line, I think. About the county line is where they started in. The road was nice and wide, and they graded it pretty often, I guess. I remember when we had these muddy roads
Yeah.
and all that.
When did you get your first car? Do you remember what?
I guess. I wasn't able to buy a car till I left here, and I guess it's about 1937 when I.
So you didn't start off with the Model T then?
No. I didn't. I don't know. I didn't learn to drive a car when I was young, so I didn't. I'd like to have had a car just like everybody else, but it wasn't an obsession with me to own an automobile, And like I said, I'd like to own one, all right.
Well, in many ways, I guess you were better off. People that learned to drive Model Ts, many of them, had difficulty in shifting over
Learning
to
how to shift.
the sliding gear transmission and so forth. Now, you worked for an airplane company. Did you ride around in an airplane?
Oh Lord, no, I didn't. No, I was a machinist by trade, and they was an airplane lit down here at Paducah about a month ago, and it was an old Stearman primary trainer, PT trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Two-wing, bi-wing, I think they call them. It's a two-winged airplane.
Yes, sir. They were biplanes.
Pancake motor. And I more than likely made some parts for that airplane. They were made in 39 and 40, along in there, and 41.
And almost every American pilot in those days trained in one.
Trained in those Stearman. They were called Stearman then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stearman aircraft.
that brought back a lot of memories.
Oh yeah. I wasn't down there, but I seen it on the television where this fellow landed at the airport down there at Paducah,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure I made some parts to go on that dude. And then after I'd worked as a machinist a while, I got transferred to the tool and die department. Machinist for the tool and die department.
Now those were real skilled jobs. So
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
were in the kind of upper echelon of wage earners.
Oh yeah. We were outside the engineers. I guess we were,
Mm-hmm.
and of course supervision. I expect we were the highest paid. It was there.
Well, time gets away in a hurry. I was going to ask you anything you'd like to talk about. Do you remember some of the old-time remedies that your mother foisted off on you to keep you from dying?
Oh, nothing but castor oil and
Did you like that?
oh Lord, no. Oh my, no. Castor oil and Epsom salts is about all they had to doctor with then, and Watkins liniment. And to make you take a dose of that Watkins liniment, that's like taking pepper.
I remember that stuff. Hot as fire.
Oh,
wasn't it?
yeah.
But you could rub it on a sore joint, and it seemed to help. I don't know whether it did or not.
I don't remember rubbing it on any joints, but I do remember taking it, swallowing it orally, as they call it now. But that was enough for me.
Yes, sir. Well, some of the old-time mothers used to give their babies catnip tea
Yeah.
and things of that nature. I'm not sure what that's supposed to do, but maybe we'll ask somebody again before too long and try to find out what catnip tea was for.
I really don't know. And I'll tell you something else I've heard some of them you're talking about, is smoking this here rabbit tobacco. I've smoked a lot of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
This rabbit tobacco.
Some of them called it life everlasting.
Life everlasting, boy, I had two names. Yeah, I've smoked that, and grapevine, and corn silks.
That stuff would burn your tongue.
Well,
wouldn't
that grapevine would.
Well, what kids won't do.
Oh, yeah.
But I reckon that was fairly harmless as it turned out.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Culp, do you have anything special you'd like to close off with? You want to get on here before we leave the air?
I don't know of any other thing. Oh,
Let's hear the story.
one day we was down at the grocery store and I met up with Myrtle Cox. She used to be a Knowles, and they was a neighbor of ours, and I guess I was about 4 or 5 years old. Me and my brother was down there, and she was telling my wife about she had paddled my hind end a lot of times. She said one day she caught me and my brother, had one of their old cats and a pair of sheep shears, fixing to cut that cat's tail off. I don't guess we ever got the job done, but she said we just fixing to cut that cat's tail off.
And so she paddled you.
I guess she did. we needed it, I guess.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's been a real pleasure visiting with you here in your home. James Walton Culp and his wife, who live, as we say, right in the heart of downtown Scale. This is Ray Mofield speaking. We return you now to our studio.